So an interesting twist to creating these has been, of all things, a really weird thing. This is just more of a technical note. My iCloud needs to have stuff deleted. So I have videos and I have elements of videos and different things on my phone that just aren't deleting. I have physically deleted them, but for some reason, from what I'm able to understand, and I could very possibly be getting something wrong on this, because they still exist on iCloud, it's taking a while for the system to sync up, and I have a phantom amount of memory that is still taken up and refuses to clear out as easily as it normally would. This is the very first time I've run across this issue, and I know that there was some tech support help that said, well, go ahead and upload or make sure your iOS is updated. The problem with that is there's not even enough room to update the iOS. So I've been going back through things and deleting what I can and that sort of stuff. That took up a better part of an hour because I was scared that, I wasn't going to have any room to be able to make these videos. So this one is going to purposefully, the next few will be purposefully very short. Yeah. So it was a bit of a surprise. Gosh, so today was very uneventful. Nothing really to talk about in this one, which is a little surprising. I'm not surprised. I'm very happy that I don't have a whole bunch more to add. I got to thinking more. I was watching a buddy of mine on Twitch stream, and I was thinking more and more about the things that I need to get together for that. Some graphics I'd like to make and stuff. But for the most part, I'm also keeping that simple. When I finally do get around to going live and streaming, I want to have a few more sessions with OBS under my belt, a few more things added in, more for ease of use and to make sure that the production is easier to pull off. And then trying to work on a camera setup again, utilizing the same thing that this iPhone is hooked up to. And so I have a better way to draw and move forward with that. And then there is a few other things that I was going back and forth about how I'm going to present some artwork that I'm working on. And, providing a good way to have maybe a dual camera setup, which is something then that means my phone will be alleviated from needing to be used for that stuff. So that's a good thing. Personally, feeling a lot of anxiety. I don't know why. I just am. There was an opportunity that I bypassed as well too. I would have had to put in for it, but I didn't really want to try and pursue it. It was for a residency, being an artist in New Mexico. And while that would have been very cool to try to put in for, the biggest problem I have with a lot of projects like that is that every single time, which I understand the reason that they exist and why they are, but every single time without fail, they are consistently based around the idea of it being a community-based project. One of the biggest fallings I have with this is that would it really be so hard for anyone to create grants or things of that nature that would allow artists to be able to create in solidarity with nobody else? And the reason I say that is because there are a fair amount of people just like myself that it's not that I'm not down with helping with community projects, but that is something born more of ego and of a community wanting something to be self-promotional. It is one more aspect that utilizes artists as a dangling prize, I would say. The more times I've looked into things like this, it's always around this idea that it makes for good PR, it makes for good image, it makes for all these other things, and it gives people in leadership roles, people that would probably never talk to most artists, a reason to go out and be seen in the community and build their political platform or who they are in general in the community. Now, I don't believe they all started out that way, but that is the way that it seems to go. There are a multitude of artists that I know personally that would benefit immeasurably from being able to get a couple hundred, couple $1,000s and go, this could be used to pay your bills so that you could create what you wanted and bring about art in ways that maybe doesn't have to do with my political agenda, my status in the community as a respected member. If you want respect, then do the things. I'll put it this way. There is an adage that I love. It is used by people in the special effects industry. If we did our job right, you won't even know we did it. That is distinctly the thing that comes to mind every single time I think about artists out there that have had to literally just trot it out and shown as the display piece. I had that issue when they did the Hearts here in Kansas City, and they're doing it again this year. I feel that there's always a certain amount that to the common person, they would think, my God, that's a lot of money. But when you think about the deficiencies that we face being people in careers that don't have healthcare, they don't, and I understand that is a choice we made, right? I'm not complaining about the choice I made. I am saying that there is a discernible difference in that because we chose to not be underneath the thumb of a corporate mandate, that we chose to do something that reaffirmed a separate stance from societal norm, that we are either ignored or utilized as a tool. That is not to say people don't appreciate the art that is created. That is not to say that people don't understand and believe in public art or in the livelihood of artists. I am saying that at best, in most circumstances, is a passing idea. And that's it. Kansas City is often looked at as the sort of community that is imbibed with culture, that is so supportive of the arts. Not going to even mince words on that. What the fuck does that mean? And I really mean that. What do you mean support? There is not one aspect in Kansas City where I've ever felt that anything I did was a garnered aspect of support. Not really. And I mean that from a factor of I've been featured in different things, magazines, articles, stuff like that over the years. And every single time I thought to myself, this is going to be a good thing. I will gain some sort of acknowledgement. I will move forward with things, and that's it. That's all I need is just to get that little bump up, and then better paying clients, more opportunities, things like that would surface. Quite to the contrary, I, like just about every other working artist I know, has to go through a lot, quite frankly, to find clients. And we are in competition as much as we are a community. When that happens, yes, skill set, connections, all of that stuff matters. It is no secret that the vast majority of artists, myself included, when you strike out on your own, when you do this, you do wonder where your next paycheck is coming from. The only difference between what I do and what people that have a job with a boss and all these other things, the only difference between the two is that I have to go look for my work, but the hold of keeping a livelihood going is tenuous at best, especially in today's world. I've often spoken about what our worth is and how delicate it is in this world. How people want incredibly nice things, but aren't willing to pay. This sort of thing is happening all over the place. And I've spoken about Netflix closing down animation projects, letting people go. I've talked about underpaid SFX artists, animators for Disney, rumblings even in Pixar, different areas like that. So this goes far and beyond into much wider areas. But keeping it on a homespun sort of angle, there are so many times in Kansas City when the bottom aspect is always the dollar they're willing to pay. I've put in bids for projects that were more than fair. I know others that have too, because a lot of times we're fighting for the same sort of jobs. And every step of the way, I feel like not only are we being asked to kind of, stand with each other and against each other at the same time, but as a whole, Kansas City doesn't really have an understanding of what the arts really are. And that's a fairly emboldened stance. And I imagine if this fucking video were to go viral, a lot of people would be like, that ignorant son of a bitch, he doesn't know, he's not that good of an artist or whatever. Yeah, I don't really actually give a shit. It had to be said at some point in time, and I don't really have that much sway on anything. But it's the reason why I don't understand how we're treated. I don't get it. And with the advent of things like AI and other aspects, it's going to get harder and harder for us to find our way through. Recently, and I'll end on this, a voice actress came forward and talked about how she did narration for books. Now, because of a really weird thing that happened with the company that the book was published through, the contract, which of course very few of us ever read our contracts for anything, included a caveat, a section that she highlighted and spoke about that took a liberty in that because the author was utilizing that platform to publish that particular version of the book as an audiobook through, they had the rights to sell it to Apple, who in turn was utilizing the voice work to train AI. Thereby, the book was then also able to be marketed by Apple with no additional income coming in for the author. Now, for the voice actor, you're paid one and done. A lot of times that's not voice actor guild stuff. That's just freelancing. You're paid for a certain amount. You don't make residuals. That's not how it works. There are a multitude of things that are misunderstood about what it's like to be an artist. I've had people that when I designed something for a company, they thought sincerely that I was getting residuals or returns or something on that. No, it's called work for hire. There are people that think when you paint a mural, I've actually talked to people that have thought this, all the murals, well, they're getting paid yearly for that, right? No, not remotely. So it brings about something in my mind where I think it goes beyond. I had a discussion with a fellow in the UK about this. I had asked him whether or not he thought educating people about how the arts work, the deep down underbelly of it, which is exactly why I did my project this last year with all of the shows, and I broke down costs, all the losses, and I was blunt about how much it hurt in some circumstances. Well, I wonder if that's not something more that needs to be done on a wider spectrum. The problem is, in most circumstances, people are very afraid to talk about their income. When I worked at Hallmark, I got in trouble for that. Talking about your income also is an ego thing. Nobody really wants to find out they make less. I've seen that firsthand than a fellow coworker. Nobody wants to think that they're not getting paid enough for what they've done. Nobody really likes to think about how much overtime they put in that was unpaid, even if it was salaried. It's kind of a messed up situation. But I want to dive into all that stuff again much later when I have a better sense of recourse and a better chance to collect it all together. So anyway, yeah, real quick on a night, 15 minutes. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next entry.